Okay, so welcome to Belfast Real. Today's guest is Norik Koczarian. Hopefully pronounced that right. Norik basically uh, lived in Northern Ireland for a while, and is you're based in England now or back in Poland?
Correct. No, I'm based in England. So back
Based
in
in England.
2015, I moved to England. Yeah.
Right. So Norik runs NK Performance. Um, he started wrestling at the age of 10. He wrestled in the Polish Championships. Uh, Competed in multiple competitions in Slovakia, Ukraine, and also in Northern Ireland as well. Norik in 2014 represented Team Northern Ireland at the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in freestyle wrestling. And he's also the author of a recently published book, which is available on Amazon, called Wrestling Minds, 5 Steps to Overcome Fear and to Boost Endurance. So welcome, Norik. Thanks for coming on to Belfast Rail today.
Jonathan, thank you so much for a really warm welcome and introduction. First of all, I want to say big, massive thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today, and obviously to welcome everyone. And I hope that both Jonathan's questions and my answers will bring a lot of value to people who will listen to this podcast, and obviously may build a bit more awareness about the subject we're going to cover today. So thanks so much, Jonathan, for inviting, and appreciate that.
No, thank you. Norik, just to kind of obviously build a bit of background and with people watching, can your story from your early life is actually quite is very interesting. Would you be able to go into that for us?
Yes, certainly. So basically, I come from a sports really family because my dad was a world champion, European champion in diving. So he never reached to the Olympics because of the politics in a sport, and but he was always at the top in the world in his field. When he became a coach, when I was 2.5 years old, we moved to Poland. So he received, an offer to become a coach in Poland and then taken on board with a national team. So he never pressurized me to join any sports. I was always following, as we normally would do, the most popular sports, football or anything, that happens there. So my life from the very, very beginning wasn't the easiest one and wasn't really designed to be in sports because I was born with quite a big defect at that point. My feet were, backwards. And my parents had to go through 12 doctors, which said, no, sorry, we have to reject it. We can't do anything about it. And then they find that the doctor number 13, I always say, the crazy one, the one who he had a vision and mission in his life that he can change somebody's life forever in something better. So thankfully, we trusted him, and I went through the processes of putting my feet back to normal. And from that moment, everything went normal. Everything just start to be fixed and get ready to live the normal life. My parents dedicated their life for most of my childhood until I was about 10 to make sure they look after me every day. My dad was drawing like a feet, steps on the paper, and I was doing walk and things like this. So there was that moment when I was playing football and I injured my knee, and I was like 9 years old. And the doctor said if I carry on doing something heavy on my knees, I might never walk again, and I might end up on a wheelchair. And I remember I came back home and my dad went, you know what? There was many people said you will never walk, and this guy is trying to take away from your passion. I won't let it happen. Believe in, and probably subconsciously my dad said, you carry on and do whatever you want. I just want you to be healthy and be able to defend yourself. And then at the age of 10, I met my wrestling coach. I completely rejected the idea of being a wrestler. I thought, two guys touching each other wasn't the best thing. But I fell in love with the sport. And my journey started, even I was going through the injuries, But I remember every single day, even when I hurt my knee, even when I hurt my ankle or anything it was, I remember that I kept coming back from the difficult situation, no matter if I could have or I couldn't control it before. So I can literally do anything I ever desire. So as you mentioned at the introduction, I've competed internationally, nationally, in Poland, in England, in Ireland, and with mixed results as we do in our life. And yes, the biggest achievement was competing at the Commonwealth Games. That's literally cutting a long story short, to be fair with yourself. And yeah, here I am today, trying to live my every day as the best day of my life, and implementing the road and the journey I've experienced through wrestling in every aspect of my life. And my biggest dream is to be able to share that message in the way of I can inspire other person.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you think about that story, I mean, 12 doctors pretty much said no. Like for especially now, even for like a lot of people, like if the doctor says, pretty much the doctor's words like law. The doctor says you need to do this, you have to go. Right, I have to take that serious. They go through that, and then as you say, on the 13th doctor, pretty much the doctor went, yeah, no problem, I can help you out and solve that. That's amazing. Basically, obviously, the whole kind of synopsis of this whole this interview is obviously mindset. How did you get involved in mindset? Obviously, your beginnings are kind of an obvious thing, but obviously you were doing wrestling. When did it kind of come on your radar? How important that is in preparation for competing?
It's a great question, and quite often we mistaken the day when we start the journey with self-development, personal development, and the mindset in our life with the day when it actually really began. Because when I look back now, when I'm a bit more aware of what journey and what parts of the journey were really key, and what happened in each area, why I was getting certain results, and on, then that will be very, very beginning of my really sports career, which was when I was 4 or 5 years old. But the actual date when I realized what the mindset is and how important it is in a sport and in life in general was back in 2009. Because what basically happened at that point, I don't have the story of my life that my parents were alcoholics or drug addicts or anything like that. I don't have that, and I never missed anything. I never had that challenge that my parents didn't have the money or opportunity to provide me with whatever I was requiring. But sometimes having not too much, but having everything leads to another sabotage in your own life, because you're thinking, oh, I can do whatever. And that leads to, going in life blindfolded. So back in 2005, after the biggest and the best performance of my life in the Polish Championships, I had an argument with my coach. So at that point, as an 18, 19 years old, every single adult is a sort of an enemy in your life. The only people who you want to surround yourself are the people your age or younger. So I fed up with my passion. I continuously damaged my vision of my passion and of the sport. And the reason I came back to the sport 3.5 years later, back in 2009, and alongside I've got to mindset and personal development training, was because for the time of being off the wrestling mat, I kept getting hit by the life. I kept using excuses. I kept complaining, and I kept rationalizing, with everything in my life, and blaming other people for my mistakes and my failure. and it was going constantly against my real self. So 2009, when I met my coach, John O'Rowe, which I love the bits, and he's one of the most phenomenal people I've ever met in my life. He believed in me. So that sparked as well the reasoning, the question in myself. So if somebody can believe in me right from the start and doesn't even know me that well, what I can do if I start believing in myself. So I started researching, and I then met Stephen Magoon, who was my first personal development coach, and we started the journey. And cut a long story short, here I am today. Both teaching the subject and adopting in my life.
And when you were wrestling and obviously come up to the Commonwealth Games in 2014, I take it then obviously as from where you were way back in 2005 up until 2014, I take it then mental preparation became more important to preparing for your matches.
Absolutely, because first of all, I've got really serious about my return, my coming back, which I really don't like to say. I come back to sport or come back to whatever we do, because technically I've never give up on being an athlete. I just had a bad time of my life and didn't follow my sport. But the real sort of return to wrestling mat, to competitive wrestling, took me a lot of mindset and mentality, because one of my coaches drew a training program for me outside of wrestling to do like a strength and conditioning program. And one of the aspects was, first of all, 5:30 a.m. Morning sprints for 5-6 weeks to drop the weight which I gained and to pick up the fitness and things like this. First of all, 5:30 a.m. in Belfast in October and November isn't the most beautiful time of the day. That's one. Second thing, he asked me to do something that I've always hated. So I never liked running. And, adding those two things for each morning was, am I willing to? So yes, the mindset was really important, because I had to pick every morning what is more important to me, the actual Commonwealth Games or the weaknesses that hold me back from achieving my probably greatest ever result in sport. And this is the simplicity behind it. People think that the mindset, the motivation, and all these things has to be complicated, but no, it's us who are complicating it. So every day I had to just make a small commitment. First thing in the morning, make a decision. What's more important, your goal or your limitations?
No, it's. I have to say, with with things I've read, and obviously doing this as a podcast, and I was thinking, I was preparing for this interview today for last night. I was finishing off preparation, and I have it's when you look at this, it's kind of like, well, obviously, but at the same time, it's blind to all of us. Mindset is like key to everything, like how you, for example, how you deal with lockdown, how you deal with what's going on in world events, to basically simply, you said, putting the time in to get yourself physically prepared for competition. Basically, like with mindset, I know obviously you also train and prepared Andy Young. Andy Young's a professional MMA fighter based in Ireland, who I've interviewed previously, and an upcoming episodes coming out soon. In your book, and he mentioned, he did the foreword. He wrote that you advise and never mix negative emotions with your achievements. Take the win, enjoy the victory and success, and attain your goal to win. Could you go into a little bit more detail about that? Oh, sorry, apologies. There's a bit more that says, then at a later date, calmly analyze what could be improved without emotion getting in the way. Sorry,
No, you're okay. You're okay. Yeah, those are exactly my words. And I remember when that happened. It was one of his title fights as well in Bolton, when he asked me to corner him as well. And it was my second experience as a corner man in an MMA fight. Yeah, and and it's always the key element, because the corner man are really important, and you want to have a right level of influence. So up to that moment, I knew Andy quite well. So I sort of knew what does work for him or what doesn't work for him from the perspective of being mind coach and an athlete. But I didn't know how Andy's going to react to my suggestions outside the cage or inside when there's a break in between the rounds. So me watching Andy, and I've seen Andy bear in mind from the crowd, from cage side, how he fighting previously prior to that fight. And I could easily say that was one of the best performances I've ever seen Andy had, in his career. And even a crowd, which wasn't his home crowd, really appreciated his fight. However, when he came out of the cage, it was the matter of, I could see a very, very much disappointment on his face, because he was going with the mindset of, I want to finish the fight. And the fight ended up with a decision. And my words were as well, Andy, you cannot ever prepare for a win or loss. Neither you can prepare for the exact win or the exact loss. You can only prepare to be your best self. So if you accepted it, you're going to change completely the goal for that particular fight or that particular competition. So I said, always remember, did you defend, for instance, if your 3 goals for each fight or each competitions are to defend very well, to attack effectively, right? And to control the game. And you lose the fight, but you've accomplished all 3 goals. What's going to happen? And he said, well, I should be grateful and I should be proud of that. I was like, exactly, because the result just will give you the information that those 3 things were great to accomplish, but you need to bring them to the next level. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. I was like, but if you accomplish the 3 goals and the end result, remember, the end result isn't the goal. It's the side effect of you accomplishing your 3 key goals for that fight or competition. And did you defend very well his takedowns? Yes, I did. Did you control the fight? Yes, I did. Were your attacks effective? Yes, they were. Did you win the fight? Yes, I did. So why are you miserable? And literally that moment went, yeah, absolutely. Because what happens? We are all, as a human beings, we are emotional beings, right? So we react emotionally. We don't react by our thinking mind. We use our subconscious mind to react to the certain situations. And that builds, I don't know if you ever heard, it's called a mental anchor. So it's like a hook. So, you might be where you are right now, and you go on for a walk, and you hear a song that reminds you the holidays from like 10 years ago, and you go, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's a mental anchor. Yeah. And we have those mental anchors in every area of our life. So I said to him, if you actually hook the negative emotion to the win, you will always reject the idea of winning because you wouldn't like the emotion about it. Yeah. First of all, be happy that you won. Second of all, cool down and then analyze how did you win. But right after the fight, with your fresh mind, do not link any negative emotions to the result. Because the best fights I've ever had, and even I kept bringing the same fight, English Championships, February 2014 final. I'm losing the fight, but I did take my 3 key goals and I've accomplished them. So when referee was raising a hand of my opponent was like this. Does it look like a happy person? No, it doesn't. I was on the other side going all this. And people were like, he's mad, he just lost a fight. I was like, no, I accomplished my goals. I perform at my absolute best. You don't need to win. And here, Andy's example, you don't need to win to be happy.
That's powerful. I mean, when I was growing up at the school I went to, failure was something. Failure was seen as death. I mean, it was. Nobody actually kind of stood in front and said that, but the impression, the culture you were kind of in the classroom, what did imply that if you fail, whether your exams or this subject, it was like death. It was like you're done. I remember our last assembly in fifth year. This is our last assembly. This is the last time we see the teachers, and then we'd go and do our exams, and that's us finished. And the teacher was walking around, and the parents said, "This is it. Right now, this is it. If you don't succeed in your exams, you're finished. There's no second chance." I remember just like going, "Whoa!" And he finished off. He even says, "Some of you will be lucky to get jobs. Some of you will end up in prison, and a few who I know will go on to do well." And that was his prep speech, going into those exams. But you're right. I think it's even like starting a business. Like what you've done. A lot of people get caught up with either success or failure. They don't. Even whatever way the coin flips, as you rightly put, you want to take a lot from the journey, and then maybe you could try those lessons at something else.
Absolutely, and it's what you just said. You know, through our life, there's very rarely they teach. You know, what's the real success. Now, the thing what you just said as well. What I will add to this is number one, what I remember when I was growing up and when I was in a school, and you know, both my parents said to me, but they only said to me because that's what they were taught before. So they not trying to be nasty about it, but it was basically, if you're wrong, then you fail. But if you're right, you won't fail. So there was never a word of success. There was always fail, fail, fail. So, you know, you're always rejecting the idea of failing. So you want to be an average. So in between, if you're wrong and if you do well, it's an average, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go to this angle because there's the fail, and you don't want to go to this angle because there's a trace of fail. So you want to be an average in your life. So you're never going to jump out. You're never going to shine. So you're always going to limit your potential. And the thing is, if any one of us, yourself or myself or the person who's listening to this, wouldn't know how old are you, where are you from, what's your background, what's your name, what's your surname, what you are able or you're unable to do, what would you accomplish in your life? If I just told you that the only thing that matters in your life is a passion to something that you have, and that doesn't have any limitations, and you really truly believe in that, what are you able to achieve?
Pretty much anything.
Pretty much anything. Exactly. But for a lot of people, it sounds like, oh, it's just generalizing and it's like one of those happy, clappy talk and things like this. No, it's not. Well, yeah, that's fine. That's their opinion. But at the end of the day, if I was never taught about succeeding, and I didn't really have to be, because the way I look at back is my, you know, what's the word? Oh my God, I lost the word, but my parents, you know, the way they went through 12, 13 doctors, and they never give up. You know, how many no's these days people will have to hear to give up? 1, 2, 3? and they give it up on their passion. Does that make sense? You know,
Yeah.
it's, they heard 1, 2, 5, 10, and kept going, because every day for them was, okay, this kid is the most important thing in our life. It's passion. Treat whatever you do, your sport, your life, your business, your family, whoever it is, the same way. And you will never give up.
Yeah. It's that I find that like even like in history, I'm a big history buff. You see examples of individuals, but also groups. So like for example, the ancient Romans, after the Battle of Cannae of Hannibal, pretty much they were finished. Like it was game over, and at that time the expectation was we're going to surrender and that's it. But they didn't just had this. Look, we're not going to fight anymore, but we're going to rebuild, and then we'll look at what works and what doesn't. And I think it is very easy uh, to just give up. Go, oh well, I even know people who just threw the towel in, either through doctor's advice or through somebody else's opinion. Just kind of thought, no, that's me done, and you're kind of no, keep going. Right? No. The question to ask would be obviously self belief or self esteem is essential, because obviously if you're getting repeatedly told no, how do you build that, or how does somebody kind of develop that so they can ride that out?
Well, first of all, it's the word I was trying to trying to say before. It's persistence. Now, persistence is a key in this. And now, first of all, we're not going to be able to believe, to build self-belief, or we're not going to be able to, build dedication or self-dedication to something, or self-discipline. Something that a lot of people are looking for and trying to gain, but we are unable to do it if we're going through life blindfolded. What I mean by blindfolded is without a goal. So if we don't have a goal that we're trying to reach and accomplish, and at the very beginning when we take the first action, we realize that every action will matter and every action of that journey is the most important, we won't be able to build the persistence. One of the greatest books ever, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, starts from desire. We need to have a desire. The second step on that book is your belief. It's not the other way around. You need to have the desire to do something, to be something, to experience something, to have something, and then attach belief, because your desire will always be something out of the normality, out of the reality. So there's no way that there can be any belief. If you desire something that you already have a belief on, that means it's too low. And it's not going to be able to overcome barriers on the front of you. Your desire at the very start should be bigger than your internal or your self-image.
Okay.
And if you have it that way, make sure you question yourself. Is it really your desire, or is it somebody else's desire? And the reason I said this is because I saw, and for me as a coach, and for me as an athlete, it's hoping to influence millions of people in the world. It's destroying me internally, and I'm trying to find a way of not letting that happen again. Seeing athletes, very talented, very hard-working athletes, becoming a tick box exercise for somebody who's trying to fulfill their own ambition using that person. And that person, for most of their life and a career, is following somebody else's goal. And that is self-sabotaging. However, why don't we believe in ourselves? is because, again, I'm going to use the analogy of two ends. So the one end is a fear of failure, and on the other side is the biggest fear in human life, and is the fear of success. As much as it sounds daft, it's the truth. We are scared of success more than we are scared of failure or death or sickness or anything. And basically, this leads to the same scenario. So I don't want to be failure, but I'm scared of the success. So I'll stay in the level of average. So I don't have to jump out, believe in myself too much, and I don't have to neglect myself too much. So it will be just okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
that kind of awareness holds us back and where we are.
yeah.
But if you realize that, your desires are always bigger, and your desires will lead to wherever you are, then you won't focus on those two angles. You will use those angles to have the motivation to something, to success, and from something, from failure. So you don't want to be here, you want to be here. Yeah. So you'll have both angles of motivation sorted, because it's always motivation to and from something. Most of us are just going from something without knowing where.
Yeah.
Or going somewhere, so to, without knowing where do they need to start. Yeah. So that makes that's a recipe for automatic failure, really.
Yeah, because you often hear, and I'm guilty of it as well, and I'm ashamed, unfortunately, that there is days you get up and you just go on autopilot. You literally just brain switches off, autopilot kicks in, you get up, get the kids their breakfast, make your own breakfast, go on the phone, and unfortunately waste time. With that, and obviously talk about setting goals and creating desire. When you're creating goals, would you be able to go into that? Like we're even just even a basic summary of how do you set goals? Do you have one goal, or can you have a few goals on the plate to kind of head towards?
Well, I'll show you exactly what I use. So there's a 7-step formula in the book as well.
Okay.
So there's a 7-step formula which I use, and the reason I put it in the book is because I wanted to be able to give all the representation of what I've been doing for my own experience, and what worked for me, and what has been working for others, and what is still working for me. Now, since I finished and completed the book, I've adopted a few more things, so I can always add to my knowledge, and I've never stopped growing with what I do. So number one is, before you actually think about any goal, always think on a paper. We're so much conditioned by these, and most of the days when we see this, it's like, you're looking at this and you're annoyed because there's messages, there's this, there's that, and you're not sort of treating this with the full respect. But something that is written has more meaning to you, because by writing, you're kickstarting your imagination. By kickstarting your imagination, you're unleashing your unlimited thoughts. So your thoughts are becoming more creative, and it's just a link, and goes to your emotions. You're more enthusiastic. You're more upfront and driven. You're happy with what's going to happen, and you take an action happen. So number one is, make sure you write down whatever it's whatever you're required to do. However, the goal setting formula which I've been using, and over the years it has evolved a bit, and quite recently as well, again, bit of it because of the lockdown, bit of it because I kept accomplishing everything I've sort of set myself as a goal. I realized there's something else that can be added to it. So number one step is, what do you desire? Answer that question. What is it that you desire? Now, if, for instance, most of the athletes I speak with, or business owners, or even in general in life, some people will go, I want to be a world champion, or I want to make £1 million, or, you know, I want to be healthy in my life. So that's fine. However, you have to realize that at that first step, that desire is still invisible, not real information. So you're writing something that you want to be that you can't really imagine you're having it. So if you leave it that way, what's going to happen? You're going to start questioning yourself. Is it really for me? Do I really want to have it? You know, how much I'm going to sacrifice, you know, and all sorts of, you know, things that will start sabotaging you. So what I added to that question is number one, who are you going to become by accomplishing that goal? I'm going to become a great dad. I'm going to become a great husband, a great brother. I'm going to be more persistent person. I'm going to become a role model for my supporters. I'm going to, you know, become very supportive for other people, right? I'm going to be contributing to others' life, and loads of different things that, you know, that people are scared of. Oh, if I set the goals just for my business, then that means I'm forgetting my family. No, you don't. Because as a great businessman, accomplishing your business goal, you can be that person for your family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the second question for that question as well, for that first step is, so what are you going to experience by becoming a world champion, for instance? Well, I'm going to experience most definitely a bit of a fame. I'm going to experience, you know, success. I'm going to experience probably traveling around the world. You know, I'm going to experience attention. I'm going to experience, you know, being a role model again. All sorts of different things that you can prepare your mind to. So when they happen, you're not scared of.
Yeah.
And the third question is, what are you going to have by accomplishing a world title, for instance? So I'm going to have, I don't know, legacy. Wow, that's a big one, isn't it? Yeah. I'm gonna be able to open my club because I'm gonna have a name that will actually attract kids, people, you know, from the street, helping them. So that one single desire becomes a bit more wow factor and more desirable than just your simple desire to accomplish that goal. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So my second step is by when, so deadline. By when do you want to accomplish your goal? And it's really important because you need to know how far you need to go. Yeah. However, the date can move around. And I prove that constantly because my dates, some of the goals I accomplish sooner, at the exact date, or later, but the goal never changed. The third step is why. Why you want to achieve what you said in step number one. And that why is 95% of your achievement, 95% of your motivation. The step number one is only 5%. It will have a power of 5% to get you out of the bed to take action. But that why, the real reason why you want to accomplish it, will literally lift you out of the bed and kickstart your day. So, you know, in the motivation and personal development, we all been taught that, oh, you need to always attract positive things, so stop thinking about negative. Now, then when you face your first challenge, you're like, so what's next? It was meant to be all clear, beautiful road. So for me, the step number 4 is to understand, not to attract, but to understand the difficulties that you're gonna face on your way for your goal. Because if you understand them, it's like I can't remember the general, but there was a general in the Second World War who said, I need to know my enemies better than I know my own army. To be able to fully use the potential of my own army. I need to find out who said that. But I realized that I need to know the difficulties that I'm going to be challenged by on my way for my goal. So when they appear, I go, I knew you're going to be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're expecting.
Exactly. So step number 5. What skills, and this is a tricky bit, because previously I was saying what skills you need to gain to achieve your goal. However, we all have some skill set which are already useful, but we're not using the full potential of it. So I divided that again by 3. So what skills you need to gain, brand new skill to be able to go and put yourself to the next level. What skill you need to improve. And instead of calling a weakness, what skill you need to get rid of. We always have a skill that damages our own personality, but we still continuously use it as it's meant to bring some result. And it does. It damages our potential.
Yeah.
So what skill you need to get rid of? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like literally sitting on your phone for an hour or something like that. Yeah.
Guilty. So step number 6. Who do you need? What kind of people do you need in your life to be able to accomplish your goal? So I need my partner to be supportive. I need, for instance, I don't have a kids, but I can say I need my kids, because when I look at them, they might not expect anything from me, but when I look at them, they give me motivation. I need my coach. I need my nutritionist. I need my marketing guy. And on and on and on. But one and most important person is I need my best self. So again, put that on a paper. Realize that because a lot of people are saying, oh, my goal is in here. I'm really sorry for my language, but bullshit. Because the goal isn't here when everything is going great. But that quickly disappears when things are going sideways. But if you write it, when things are going sideways, and this is the formula that I've been following for past 11 years. I open my booklet, or I open the card that I wrote my goal in. At the most difficult times, I reach out to fundamental tools I've gained or I developed for most of my life. My goal was always there. In my head at that point, there was no way that there was a goal. But on my paper, on that card, my goal was there, so I could go, come on, Norik, this is something you're following. You wrote it. Here are the difficult aspects of it. So you're facing that now. Keep going. There's still a couple more, actions on that list. And then the number 7 is create the action plan. We all have some commitments, right? We all have either a business to run or a job. We all have either a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or we all have a family to look after, right? We all have to have certain other things. We need to go to see our parents. We need to go to see our friends. But one thing we can also do, and we reject the idea of doing because we kept going, I don't have a time for that. We all have the same amount of the time. And it's how you prioritize things. So I always said, create, as a number 7 point, 3 actions that are related to you getting closer to your goal each day. And if you can use just one of them daily, that is perfect. If you can use all 3 of them, that's absolutely phenomenal. But 3 actions which you don't take these days that are directly including your goal, and take them.
So that could be like, those actions could be like, for example, when you were preparing for the Commonwealth Games, getting up at 5:30 to go sprinting. So that could be one. Would that be right?
Absolutely, because my normal training regime was 7 p.m. training. That's it. So one of the actions was, okay, I need those sprints, right? The other action would have been, after really heavy day, I adopted quite strongly, like meditation, for instance, or a process of visualizing, because again, there's a lot of mistake. When do you meditate? When you visualize? You meditate when you this is one way. I'm not saying this is the only way, but I used to use meditation. I kept using it, but I use it, really to relax myself. But the time I was heavily training, I used the meditation to calm myself down. So over time, during the day, you're sort of overloaded with information, with things that happen in your life. So I used the meditation to calm myself down. But I used the visualization when I was already in the right state to even, add more value to it.
Yes.
So yeah, those can be those things. So visualize, meditate, additional training, or wake up earlier than normally. I don't know. There's loads of different things. Again, there's a video going on the YouTube, and there was something on the Facebook. There's, I think, like a captain in American Navy who says, do one task every single day. Mind your bed. Make your bed. That's it. Start from something. Something that we ignore. We just leave untidy bed and we go and do the other stuff. That takes you like 30 seconds. Do your bed. Condition your mind that you're already taking control of your actions. So, for anyone who's listening to this podcast can be, actually, I don't do bed. I wake up. My sink is covered with a full of, night before plays and things like this. And I do have a time, but I constantly say to myself, I don't have a time to do them. So I go to work, I come back to work, and they're still there. Oh, they didn't disappear. Magic wand. Nobody made my bed. Nobody washed my dishes. Right? So instead of having a knock-in effect of that, do it. Instead, we spend more time on finding excuses than we actually do things. So
yeah. So definitely, I think I was listening to a while ago, it was one of David Goggins' podcasts. David Goggins been interviewed, and he literally said, now more than ever, it's easier now to be mediocre than it is to be great. And along the same lines, you're saying it's got, you do see it, and even in your own life. Listen to myself, there'll be times you go, I'll do that tomorrow, or put that off. And one of the things I'm trying to do in my own life is really go, no, those 3 things you need to do them before you go to bed tonight. Get them done, or even if you don't get to finish it, at least start it. So it means then you're building up that, I suppose, that mental muscle to get things done. Going to obviously the book. The book, you had the idea for the book back in 2009. How did that come about? And did it just, why, if you don't mind me asking, why did it take, why it was printed this year? Was it just you wanted to spend more time developing it, or was it?
I like the way you went, a very diplomatic way. Norik, why the hell did it take you so long to complete the book? That's the question you wanted to ask. Why did you postpone it? Why did you literally ignore the fact that when you thought about that, you didn't take an action? You know what? And I was waiting for that question, and I'm grateful you asked me for that, because I see every day people who are sort of, thinking about a great idea, and then they sort of rejecting it by pushing it on a side and, never making it happen. But the way my idea by the book came up is when back in 2009 on one of the seminars, we were standing in a group, and somebody, I was meant to answer in front of 50 people, right? Because people were going, oh, my dream is to have a yacht, and my dream is to have a helicopter. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, people, why are you so foolish? You know, is it really the most important thing in your life, or you just saw in a movie or somewhere that somebody has that yacht? So right away at that point, I had this kind of mindset, and obviously when everyone went and I was keeping myself away of answering a question, it finally ended up that I was the only one who didn't answer. So, you know, when you're in the middle of the room and sort of they go and bang, bang, bang question, then they go, and it's like that awkward silence, and everybody's looking at you and going, well, Norik, what is your goal? And I don't know why. I to be fair with yourself, I stopped questioning it. I just accepted it. My answer was, I would love to leave something behind one day that if I'm not alive anymore, somebody can grab it, watch it, listen to it, and have it, and continue my message. Honestly, if somebody said, Norik, where did you come up with that idea? I wouldn't have an idea. I wouldn't know. And somebody said, so what would that be? And it's like, you know what? I would love a book. And then I was talking with quite a few people since then, and they were like, so do you read a lot of books? I was like, these days, yeah. When I answered that question, the last book I read was like 10 years before. And it had 28 pages. And I had to read it because it was one of the school subject books. And since that, I ignored an idea of reading books. So I was like, yeah, Norik, write the book. It will be amazing. It's like, okay, yeah. But every time I thought about it, I rejected the fact that I'm not an author, that I don't have good enough message to write in it. But the thing about the goal as well, when you have a goal and you share with people, you're not just relying on people who will support that goal, but on those people which go, well, Norik, how are you getting on with that goal of yours? So, you know, that those annoying ones that actually will encourage you even more. And at that point, thankfully, for about 4 years, I didn't have anyone like that. Well, that's what I thought, thankfully. Now I would go, why I didn't have it. Yep. And I kept starting the book, but again, I kept going, no, you're not good enough. Do your own stuff, but don't touch the book. You can read the books, but don't write the book. And I was still happy with, you know, who I was coaching, how I was coaching, and who I was, and I was growing and implementing my own knowledge in my own preparation. And you know what? Last year I was delivering a workshop in Poland on the front of 50 people, most of them athletes, few of them just joining it because they were part of the club I was coaching in the seminar. And we spent absolutely phenomenal time. It was meant to be 2-hour seminar, and it turned around to be 7-hour seminar. Right. So I started at 7 p.m. and we left the room around 1 a.m. And they did it. They didn't want to let me go. So they were like, Norik, so what's next for you? Like, what's the big thing for you? I was like, I'm writing a book. And I went like, shh. And I couldn't believe, but I thought, you know what? I just went with the flow. I had no limitation in my mind. I didn't think about it. I just said what I'm really wanting to do. And 10 years later, I've still kept saying the same thing when somebody asked, what's next big thing for you? So I had choice, but I made myself not having a choice. So I got into, started writing. I did a bit of a research. How many words do I need to have 100 and something pages book? And, what's the most important? How do you build, all the information on it? And back in February, I had, I said about the book in July, and back in February this year, I had 3,500 words written out of 12.5. Okay. And then obviously the lockdown hit, and the first thing when I kept hearing how people are devastated, scared, and a thing like that. And I said to myself, Norik, what are the 3 things that nobody else would do that you should do? And one of them was, Norik, make sure you look after your mindset. The second thing is, make sure you look after your physical body. And number 3 is, complete finally this freaking book. And through the lockdown, I kept myself motivated and driven. So my mindset, I'm happier than ever. Lost 5 kilos, that extra 5 kilos which I was holding and I shouldn't. And I completed my book. So sometimes it's not that we, we're pushing things away from us and they don't, and sort of we refuse or we regret things. I don't regret not writing it back in 2009 or 10 or 11, because the message I had was based on a couple of years of experience of me being a coach, where I think it's the right time. And to be fair with yourself, back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, and on, the book was meant to be called The Power. And this name is slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
why the change in names, or what made you change the name? Obviously, the experiences you've had wrestling and all that.
Bit of an intuition and playing with words, to be fair with yourself, because a lot of people knows me as a wrestler and a lot of people knows me as a mind coach. So I thought when I have challenges, when I'm fighting with my thoughts, what am I really doing? I'm wrestling with them, am I? And because I believe we have 2 personalities, one that holds us back and one who's real self, I always say it's not the battle of our thoughts, it's the battle of those 2 personalities. So it's like they wrestle. So it's a wrestling minds, isn't it? So there's 2 minds that are wrestling to each other. So I thought, you know what? The first book is about the fear of succeeding, and about the fear of failure. So there's 2 minds that wrestling. Who's more stronger? Is somebody going to pull to the failure, or is somebody going to push to the succeed? So wrestling minds.
That's a really funny you said that. I mean, again, this week I've interviewed Jeff Thompson, yourself, and both of you are very much into the whole mental aspect. And one of the things, funny, I was out on a run and I was thinking about this. We basically, as you say, we've got two sides. There's you, who you want to be, and then there's the anti-you. And it's almost like this battle. So if the anti-you is winning, that individual's living the life that it wants. So it's good, but you're not happy because it's burned out. So it is this battle. And I'll be honest, and I'm watching this, I may laugh at this, but it's true. Sometimes when even the other days when I was starting this podcast and I was going to interview people, the resistance I had on my way to interview them was actually able to meet people face to face was massive. I mean, the wee voice in my head going, tell them you're not feeling well, tell them something came up, tell them your car's broke down, traffic's heavy, there's a car accident, you have to turn back. And it was it still happens, but it's incredible the power that when you move towards, like you said, when you move towards those goals, it's amazing the power that wee voice has to try and pull you back, pull you away from where you need to go.
Well, absolutely. I'm sorry to interrupt you with this, because I literally love what you just said there. Want to add one thing, because the only one thing that will stop us from doing something and bring that voice up is when we're feared of something. Now, we're feared of something because we either haven't done it or have made a mistake on doing something before. Now, when we haven't done it, we can't really expect to succeed. So why would we even bother to be feared of it? I know it sounds simple, but that's how it is. We're complicating things. But if we've done it and we made a mistake, and the end result wasn't the end result we were expecting, we shouldn't question our ability. What we should look into is, was our preparation right enough to do this? So you probably heard the rule of 7 P's. So piss poor preparation provides piss poor performance.
Okay.
Right?
That's good one,
and I love that, and it's been with me all over. You know, the moment that I heard that, I said that to my coach, I said that to John, and during 6 a.m. trainings we had on the wrestling mat, and I was doing a shadow fight. He was measuring my time, and he was looking at me, and I was nearly giving up, and he goes, "Norik, 7 P's," and I was like, "Oh no!" And I kept going, pushing myself, because I couldn't accept the wrong or poor preparation, because then I can blame myself for the result. But if I prepared right and I lost, that's fine. But at least on my journey, I did my personal best, everything I could to accomplish it. Didn't work. Let's move on. Next one on the line. But when you think about what you just said as well, the only reason you can start saying to yourself things that will hold you back, or agree with that old self, as I say, because when you decided to improve, you're igniting with your real self, the unlimited self. But when you're agreeing to be feared of, and you're accepting the fear, not to tackle it, but just as the limitation, you're agreeing with old self. And the reason that happens is because you're looking at that as a barrier. You can't see what's behind it. And what's the most important thing behind it always? That's your goal. So you need to see your goal through that fear, because you're going to go through the direction no matter what. But if there's nothing there, if you're blindfolded, you're going to see the fear, and you're going to go, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll better just turn around and go back. And the reason I started my first book by saying this, I'm probably opening up a bit of a next question, or another question. Is there going to be more books? Yes, it's going to be a series of 5 books. But my first book is about the fear. Okay. Because that is the number one thing that holds us back in any area of our life.
Yeah. It's definitely powerful, and I mean, again, this week it's been a really fascinating week talking to yourself and Jeff as well, and Jeff's very well known for fear. You said it's going to be a series of 5 books then. So the first books will be on fear. Are you able to elaborate on the other 4 roughly even?
I started, so I put myself into this. So yeah, the second book is about limiting beliefs. So how to overcome the limiting beliefs. And again, I've been using a formula which I called the Elite Performance Evolver. That's why it's called the Elite Performance Series, because each letter of word elite means something. And the second book is about limiting beliefs. The third book is heavily related to the quality of your goal setting, of the vision and mission you create in your life. That a lot of athletes, as I said, they follow in what they've been told. So you are able to become a world champion. Your sport is not an Olympic sport, so the most important thing in your life will be a world title. So this is what you need to follow. Wrong. Be able to set your own goals and be able to have a clarity of who you want to be. So the goal setting formula is book 3. The book 4 will be about how to develop a great team around yourself, because this is where a lot of people are struggling. They quite a few losses, and they start doubting the team, the level of the practice, and then the equipment, the environment, and everyone else. And it's going to be about also the importance of me as a person in that team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of pointing the fingers, realizing how important I am in building a team. And number 5, subject, which was a big challenge for me as well. And every time I did a survey, a lot of athletes said, financial struggle. So the book number 5 is about how the first and the most important skill set of how keep yourself away from the financial struggle. So how to manage your money as an athlete.
That's a big one. I think even today, I mean, you hear statistics being thrown out about, that's in the Western world, how many people are in debt, and we seem to be drowning in debt. Countries are drowning in debt. And I think those books seem to cover, definitely cover, I think, a lot of key areas. A lot of people struggle with, but maybe don't talk about, or it's never been covered in their life before. So they're kind of, I mean, I know for a fact with myself, fear was something as a young age always had, and when you try to kind of bring up as a subject, people looked at you, man, you're scared. I'm not scared. We're not scared. What are you talking about? You must have a problem, or you must be broken. And then as you start reading books, fair enough, and you read different writers, and they kind of go, well, here, I'm scared, but this is how I overcame. It's kind of like, oh, okay, so it's okay to be scared. But so, yeah, definitely. I think when your the other books, then try to put you on the spot. When do you see them being published? Just over the next few years? Or?
Well, the goal is, again, by saying this, the first book was meant to be published in February, and I'm not going to put the blame on all the current situation and climate in the world and what happened back then. I just wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready at that point. And then a few months later, by end of April, I already had it. It was only 2 months delay, but I already had it. So because it was the first one, it's always that difficult part, because you need to learn a bit. You're going to make a bit of a mistake, you're going to fix it, and on and on. However, I already have the body. I already have everything ready. So the cover design and everything, that took a while as well. So I already have the cover design for every book.
Right.
So the second book I'm planning to have published and ready to be, available really end of November.
Excellent, brilliant, great. No, that's fantastic, because I got the first one, Wrestling Minds. I got as a Kindle, and I've started going through it. And I definitely recommend anyone watching this. I think the whole mindset and personal development, it's really underrated, and a lot of people don't realize, I think, how vital it is to their success. Going into obviously NK Performance, how did that come about? And what services do you offer with that? Let's maybe be a bit self-evident, me saying that.
No, that's absolutely fine. First of all, Jonathan, you said you had a Kindle version.
Yeah.
I would be honored if after this podcast, after this interview, I'll send you over a link, and if you just put your information in, like your email and your name, I'll send you over a free signed copy.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. Thank you.
Whoever's listened to it, I still have 50 books in my possession, physical books, that by going through that link and just covering postage and packaging, I'll just be delighted to sign and dedicate the book for yourself directly and send a free copy.
Thank you.
So this is what I do, and if you are able to share it as well alongside to the podcast or a post, I'll be very grateful for that.
Okay.
Coming back to your question, where's the NK Performance come from? So NK, Norik Koczarian, performance, because if we focus in every day of our life in performing at our best, we will realize that we're more satisfied than ever, and we will be more happier and fulfilled in anything we do. there's too much tension on going and winning, and we put a pressure on ourselves. We gain a pressure from the external world. So I didn't want to be involved in something that promises something that you can't deliver. What I can deliver is performance. Again, the performance can be, as we said, piss poor, or can be amazing. The only difference is how you're going to prepare to that performance. So for me, NK Performance is that Norik Koczarian wants to perform and serve every single person who decide to appear in my life. So you've approached me for the interview, so I want to perform at my best for you and for everyone who will listen to this podcast. And the reason is because I respect what you do, and I believe I'm in this world to serve people. And performance is every way, isn't it? Because as an athlete, we think we need to go and win to be able to perform. For some reason, this is the mentality we're holding. But you can have one of the best performances, and unfortunately, the side effect, which is the hand raised or hand down, isn't your way. But you're still going to be remembered. There's many fights, matches, or anything like that, the battles that we watched or we heard of, that, you know, you're not only complimenting or remembering the winner, but you're going, you know what? Those two guys or those two teams were absolutely phenomenal. And it's difficult to say who was better, but unfortunately, the end result was this or this.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why NK Performance. What services through the years they changed. Through the years they've evolved. They adapted to the current climate, to the current needs of potential audience, or, you know, whoever I can serve to. Well, the most importantly, in the world and environment of athletes, there's a lot of confidentiality. So it will be individual one-on-one training, like the mind training, either on Zoom, or if somebody's nearby me, we can travel to each other. That's absolutely fine. But the most common one is one-to-one, similar to this, really.
Yeah.
The second service that I have is if in particular team wants to join me and bring the entire team to work on their purpose, you know, and they team drive instead of the individual skills, so we can do team training, again, jumping on a Zoom and delivering the program. So the third one is, currently I have the Polish version, but I'm planning to bring the English version. So I have an online course. So the online course based on 32 videos, 5 modules, where you learn basically every single aspect of mind training. So the fundamentals of mind training. So the fourth product at the moment is really this.
Yeah.
So those are 4 services that I'm mainly focused on. Now, I don't reject the idea of traveling and doing a live event, but obviously we have a bit of a limitation at the moment. However, I've done it. I've done it in June, July. I've done it in August. So it can be done, but again, it has to be agreed by both parties, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But my key product is basically the individual sessions, because that's where athletes can not only be treated individually, but can be more affected, if that makes sense. They can get more out of that.
Definitely. Basically, then obviously, just the next few questions then is, what would be one of the biggest lessons you've learned in your life so far that is pretty made a big impact on you, that you've learned?
Jonathan, there's too many of those, and it is one of the most difficult ones to actually bring up just one. For the fact, I can easily say, make sure you appreciate every single thing you do and have and experience in your life, the good or bad things, because when you keep appreciating the situations, the people, you know, and whatever you're willing to give out, and forget about expectations. Do not expect anything. Nobody owes you anything, and the life most definitely doesn't owe you anything. Because, the appreciation is a key. However, the second part of that, I would say, as a second bit, is also this. We all go with the expectation that, we are the one that everything should happen to us. The one and key element that I learned at the very start is there's no such a thing as something for nothing. So first of all, give something, and then you can actually, you shouldn't expect. Actually, sorry, forget my word. Forget what I was saying. Get rid of expectation.
Okay.
Just give. Keep giving. Something will happen, but focus on giving. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, be in service to others.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Norik, how does if anyone wants to get in touch, whether it's for one-to-one training, group training, whatever, how can they reach you?
As you can imagine, these days the social media is so powerful, and the best thing is to find me either on Instagram, on Facebook. Those platforms are the ones that I quite constantly am engaged on. The website is there. The reason I don't want to advertise the website is just because it still needs a bit of a touch to that. So I'm completing the website, and it will be ready soon. So it's www.norikkoczarian.com. So just try to keep it as simple as possible. So it's nothing to do with NK Performance. It's my name and surname.com. So all the contact details are there. But these days, the best way is either social media, and there's a page, Norik Koczarian and hyphen NK Performance. And on Instagram, it's just Norik Koczarian. So you should find me, and I'll be more than delighted to answer any questions. Same as if somebody just asked me for a suggestion, recommendation, or anything like that, I'll be more than delighted to respond to.
Excellent. And your book, first of all, number one of the 5-parters, that's the Wrestling Minds. That's available on Amazon and all good bookstores. And your second book should hopefully be out by the end of the year, hopefully.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's great. Norik, thank you very much for coming on. And I don't mean to put you in the spot. Well, I am putting you in the spot. Hopefully, maybe you would consider coming back on again in a few months' time. Maybe to talk about the second book, if that'd be of interest to you.
Well, I'm just waiting for a call from you then, and, okay. And a message. So, Jonathan, this morning I recorded a story on Instagram, and I just said, do not ever refuse or do not ever reject the idea when it's related to your passion. Yeah. So never ever refuse your passion, really. This is my passion. I want to share the message. So when I get the opportunity to come on the board and, obviously help you out, but in fairness, spend a really good quality time sharing and talking about what I love in my life, then, I can't ask for more. So yeah, absolutely. Just whatever you feel is the right time. Just give me a shout, and I'll definitely find a time for you.
That would be it. Thank you. And again, anyone watching this, I would recommend that you go back, wind this episode back, and go through it with a notepad, because Norik, you gave a lot of, I think, really solid bits of information that people can actually take and put the action and move their lives forward. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your hard-earned knowledge, and good luck with the books.
Jonathan, thanks so much for having me again, and I'm really honored to be on your show, on your podcast, and I'm wishing you all the best with it. And do not ever settle for an average. That's my message for you, and the message for everyone who will listen to it or watch it, hopefully both, is yes, Jonathan just said, go back with a notepad, take some notes, and hopefully you will be able to take even that one message, that one advice that I've managed to give you, and do not hesitate to either contact Jonathan for an ideas of the podcast, because it will help him to grow, and do not hesitate to contact myself. I'll be delighted to answer any of your questions in the future.
That's great. Thank you.